This is Talking My Walking. I'm Rodrigo Ribeiro. Today I'm going to talk about economics of sufficiency versus economics of disposability. We are used to live, by we, I mean the ones that live in rich countries, and not everybody for sure. So the so-called middle class and upper classes are used to live in economies of disposability. So the so-called consumer society, especially because of the profit seeking, it requires consumption, continuous consumption of goods and services that are necessary, that are essential for a healthy life, but also, and sometimes even more, to buy superfluous stuff that is absolutely unnecessary and most of the time can even be damaging for our health and for our well-being, and creating addictions and dependencies that make us sick mentally and physically. That's why this economy of disposability is also the result of a capitalist system that needs it in order to continue growing. This dynamic needs to be understood because the relation between the need for perpetual growth is because the capitalist system needs always new money in the economy, and the only way to have new money in the economy is through credit creation, which is, as I said, I'm going to repeat it again, which is the role of the commercial banks, not only the commercial banks, but mainly the commercial banks, by lending money. They do not lend money because they do not take the money, they do not use their money or even the customer's money to loan. They don't even have any more reserves. It used to be necessary to have a certain amount of reserves. It was supposed to be 10% or 5% or something like that, but that's not even anymore. That is every time. Probably some of you have already read it or heard it somewhere. Every time you go to a bank and asking for a loan, if the bank approves the loan, they just digit it's a few keystrokes in a computer. It's a few keystrokes is enough to create the amount of money that you asked for. The bank, the profit of the bank is the interest. They do not. So they make a profit out of money they create out of thin air. So they do not their money. They are not lending their money. They are creating the new money, and that money goes into the economy, and that's how the economy grows. It's how the economy makes the economy run. That is so we have this system that requires to incentivize consumption. That's why I call it economics of disposability, which means it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that we consume and make the economy work and make it grow, and that's it. This is madness, and we are educated and indoctrinated to find it normal and natural. We just that is just how the economy is supposed to work. And so many of us feel entitled for everything. We just believe that it is normal that as long as we have money, we should be able, money or credit, we should be able to have everything, And also, we also believe that we should be allowed to produce. There are some rules and regulations, of course, to keep some safety, or sometimes to make it to make believe that is safe, because everybody knows that so many things that are in the market, foods and drinks and especially processed foods, they are not healthy at all. They should not be allowed to be in the market. But it is the capitalist entrepreneurship. We should not interfere with it, because it's never proven. It's like that. There is always a study that says the other study is not correct. This research, and because they are biased and this and that. So even the research and the documents that prove, the reports that prove something can be damaging, it doesn't mean that it's going to become legislation that will become and that will be taken out of the market. So because the primacy goes for business, that is more important than anything else. And if you are against business, if it is this is just like the same the same logical fallacies that people use, the same stupid rhetoric that people use. If you want to make peace with Russia, of course you have to be a Putin puppet, not because you just want peace and you just think that we can be friends with Russia. It's not about Putin. Putin in one man might be play an important role in history, in Russian history and European history or world history. But nevertheless, he's one single man and will be gone, and Russia will be there. So I want that all Europeans understand that Russia is our neighbor, is a big neighbor, and it has a huge potential to to help us that we have it is important, it is that we grow together, that we can be, we cooperate, not prepare for war with Russia. That is, I mean, that is as delusional as it can be. Okay, this is the same logic that when we criticize business or we criticize this economy of disposability, or I criticize the economy of disposability and this feeling of entitlement and supremacy, that we have to we have to commodify everything, we have to please all our whims, we depend more and more in convenience. If we criticize it, or if we try to pay it, to make people pay attention that this is not a healthy route, this is the wrong paradigm, civilizational paradigm, and the wrong economic model and political economy model, we are anti-business. I mean, we are anti this, and no, it's not about that. I mean, not every business is good, and we need to have a healthy economy, not a profitable economy, because profits can be, you can have moderate profits, and people should enjoy some reward of their labor, the same way people, because investment, you know, research. I'm going to say something about research. So many companies, for example, big pharma, but this could be other examples, they always claim that they need to invest billions in research, so there is the need in order to them to make profit. They need to have the patents for a certain number of years, and it seems logical. Okay, because they invest that amount of money. But that is already wrong, because when we frame it like that, we make it sound that there is the need for these private corporations, these big, huge corporations that should not even exist because they are too big to exist. They become bigger because they are all time merging and buying each other and so on and so forth. The research in every field, from agriculture, military, any research should be done, should be controlled and monopolized by the state, because that should be an asset, the capital for the country, for the nation, not for private corporations that they do not care. They will move away. They do not care about anything but their profit, their bottom line, and they are, of course, they need a country. That's why they need the state. They need they need a state, because they need the state to protect their backs. You know, they need the state to do it. That we have the CIA has been since its inception in '49, I believe, that has been protecting the back of the corporations, like in countries like Guatemala, and I mean a lot of and in many countries that they have been behind regime change operations and coup d'etat and assassinations and doing all the good things we know. The CIA. The CIA. I mean, I think everybody knows by now. Everybody knows what is the job of the CIA. So therefore, it is. The economics of disposability is part of the imperialistic civilization paradigm. It is the idea that business and profits cannot be stopped. You can go. I mean, just imagine. And because it's just a foreign company or a foreign investment asset investment firm, asset management firm, they just come into your country and they just can control a huge land and other resources, and the population of your country just keeps poor, because all the economic all the wealth created doesn't stay there. It's not used to develop the countries, because people are also disposable. Everything is disposable under this system. So that's why we should ask. First, to start with, we should ask ourselves if we should feel entitled to everything. Or we should have an education. That's the point. We should have an education that already would train us, indoctrinate us, because everything culture is always a process of indoctrination. But we can have a culture. But we can have a culture that trains us for an economy of disposability or for an economy of sufficiency. And because we used before industrial capitalism made possible mass production, we had most economies were economies of sufficiency for the people. That's always the same problem, because the rich and the landowners, the big landowners, and the feudal lords and the kings, and and later the bankers and the merchants, very wealthy merchants, they would have lives of luxury, and they would be wasting. They were already living lives of extravagance and waste and luxury in every sense of, because that's how it works. What industrial capitalism made possible, it was the mass production for profit again. it was good in one sense. It made possible to have more abundance of many things that were scarce. But we should understand that abundance, that everything needs resources. And if it needs resources, resources need to come from somewhere. You know, you cannot go to a place like for example, a company like Coca-Cola or Nestle. You cannot go to a country and buy land and buy land where they know there are aquifers, and they take over the aquifers, they pump the water to produce Coca-Cola and to bottle water, mineral water or whatever, no, and just sell it, commodify it and sell it and make profit out of it. And the people that live in the surrounding areas, they might create some jobs, okay, but much more people that depend on that water for their own livelihoods, they might not be able anymore to have access to it. And this is not entrepreneurship. This is not good business. This is control. This is plunder. This is robbery. And then these people, and there are a lot of other people with financial instruments that make a lot of money, and the stocks go up at the expense. You know, there is the financial markets, then the stock exchange and everything else. There's a lot of money making people, not a lot of people making money out of this in this market. You know, this market. This is not the market. This is a sham, a scam. And you know, you just make money out of impoverishing people. You know, many years ago, already in the 80s, and you know, every time a company would get rid of, would merge with another company that gets rid of some thousands of employees or something like that, their stock would go up. You know, it's interesting that the market goes up by doing social damaging, by making people becoming poorer, by destroying the fabric of society. But it's good for business, you know. But what kind of business? This is not business. This is. I mean, they are not producing anything, you know. And I have to talk about this every day because this makes me feel. I mean, this is very. You know, as if people, I think it was Steinbeck who said that Americans, I mean, I don't know, I don't want to kill the quote. Americans are not poor or are not lower class, they are just they're just embarrassed millionaires or something like that. I think it sounds like that. That means that people has this mentality as if we, I mean, as if we ignore that the majority of people will always be lower class. It doesn't mean that we live in abject poverty, but the majority of people will be always lower class. And by being lower class, it means that we don't have any political agency, because that's where the problem resides. And that's a very important problem. The squirrels, they are gone now. You can see them. They are on the other side of the trunk. Let me see if I can. They are in the other side. Okay, let's see. They are very fast, so they are already up somewhere. Yeah. Or maybe they are in that hole. You can see the hole in the tree. Maybe they are there. Okay. So it's an ideological and cultural problem, because we take for granted the consumer society. We feel entitled to everything. We do not want to give up anything. So people do not understand, people do not care, people do not feel the pain, they do not care what happened to other human beings and to animals, and the destruction that is necessary, even for the illusion of green transition. That is an illusion. I mean, it's an illusion in the sense that we are not really transitioning. We are creating another layer. Because again, it has been. I mean, it will be. It's just always more and more and more consumption, more and more energy. So that's why it is incredible that it doesn't matter where it comes from. It just matters that it is needed. That's to grow the economy. That's why if we really believe that in justice, and by the way, the reason why justice is important, and the economics of justice, because the economics of sufficiency is the economics of justice. Okay? Because if it will not become reality, if the economics of sufficiency will not become reality, we will, even the ones that now believe they are safe, believe they will be able to have good lives, and because they are smart or whatever, they believe they have because there is one thing interesting point, that all people that are having a good life, they tend to believe that they have it because they deserve it. The ones that do not make it, the ones that are losers, so there is something wrong with them, not with the system, but with them. So if you are not a loser, if you are middle class, if your life is going smooth and you still have everything, you might believe that it's you. So you always will be able to, doesn't matter. You have the skills to overcome the the difficulties that can come in your way. But the reality doesn't work like that. The reality doesn't work like that. The reality is that if we won't do anything to build an economy of sufficiency, which is, as I said, is also synonymous of an economy of justice, many of us that today are still having good lives, they might see they are going also to be affected by it, because the economics of disposability creates a tremendous inequality in the concentration of wealth that is already occurring. It's not something that is going to happen in the future. And the trend that we are seeing now, that we are paving the way to techno-fascism, it won't be good for us. It won't be good for the people that now are still middle class. The economics of sufficiency, that we can give other names, the economics of sufficiency, which to me is an economy, a social and ecological economy, that is the economy of a civilization, of an ecological, holistic civilization, is necessary to save the world. Okay, I use it. I do not like these phrases. Saving the world. The world doesn't need to be saved. We need to be wiser. We need to have more common sense. That's what we need, and that is why I think we need to understand why so many people miss it. Many people understand the problem of the Anthropocene, and they miss the role of the Capitalocene, which means that many people, in order to understand that the problem is not the anthropos itself, of course, is the anthropos that causes the problems, but is the Capitalocene, which means the rule of capital. It is a system, a structural system where capital reigns. That's why we need to understand our age with at least 500 years. That as the age, the Capitalocene age, in order to understand where does the economics of disposability, what are the roots, and why we need to get rid of it, why we need to end it. Because the economics of sufficiency is not about making us poor. Poverty has always existed, and it has always been created by capitalism, and not only by capitalism, but by class society. Poverty is a condition that is created by the assumption that a society needs to be divided in classes and castes. and that means that we have rights that some are entitled to have rights and privileges that others do not have. So there are society where are people that their role is to serve all others and to be used, and they are disposable, especially in the age of abundance, where everything can be exponential, produced in huge amounts and very easily. A monkey. They don't see much people here around here, I guess. Anyways, so this is not very difficult to understand, because it is about having more time for our lives, maybe having less material. But why do you need material? I mean, you know, most people need to go to be indebted, and everybody knows and feels and experiences that debt cripples us, because debt makes us be worried, because we know that we have to pay to make the money, to make enough money to pay the principal and the interest. So it's for the poor people, that is not a good thing. That's why an economics of sufficiency needs to be based in economics of sufficiency requires universal basic services, because people need, and again, as I said before, the state, you know, the state is based on a few things. A nation, or can be one nation or more nations. It depends if the country has multiple nations or just one single nation. The country is the territory with borders, usually at least one language, official language, at least one. It can be more, but at least one. And a set of institutions like money, you know, money. That's why we have most countries, most independent states, sovereign states have a sovereign currency. And that's why the sovereign currency can be used to develop the economy. Not the private sector. It is the state itself. The private sector, I mean, that's why money cannot be controlled privately. Because money is a powerful tool. It's too dangerous to be left. But of course, if the state is controlled by an oligarchy, and by oligarchy is individuals, families, corporations, private entities that control the state, the population the state will work and function for the benefit of them. So that's why the state and economics of sufficiency requires a strong democratic power. I do not believe in, I believe that the demos is not only about workers, it's the demos, it's the people. Doesn't matter. Of course, we should always, all of us should be workers as well. At some point in our life, we need to have we have the duty to participate in the economy as producers, not only as consumers. So this is a very important point, because without the control of the sovereign currency, if the state gives that power to the private sector, and the private sector can use it in order to control the state, we are done. And that's where we are now. And that's why, if we want to have an economy of sufficiency, that we can live more, work less, and have more meaningful lives, we need to understand that the economics of disposability and the imperialist civilization needs to end. Is obsolete and is anachronic, and it is it might be responsible for the end of humanity. I do not know about the end of life on earth, but about the end of humanity, or just the end of civilization at least. So we should think seriously about this and discuss it, and try to be as intellectually honest as possible. None of us is our authorities. This is a discussion. This is a collective endeavor. This is not a, it should never depend on experts and authorities. Do we need experts in some fields? Of course we do. But they are not saviors. They are not they are not right all the time. And by the way, and most of the time, that's what when the people talk about modeling and complex system analysis, and it is very difficult, because there is always variables that we miss, intentionally or not. There are some difficulties, which means that we need to understand that this is not about delivering the truth, but delivering as possible, as reliable data that we can use to create, to find solutions, and to understand problems and to find solutions. But it is a process, and this is a very important notion that I always try to emphasize. If we want to understand anything, we need to understand it as a process, not as a thing. And we need also to train our ability to understand also the problems as complex systems interacting. There are a lot of variables, and things are that's why we need an holistic approach, not because it is not about searching an absolute truth, that it can be, but it's not also about never finding, okay, so we can never know the truth. So we don't do anything. We don't change anything because we cannot know the outcome. No, it is pretty simple. The outcome is, if we have a democratic accountability, which we don't have it anywhere in the world right now. No, there is no system. Because we have an imperialistic civilization. We have a class-based system that has been using the concentration, the accumulation of capital, concentration of wealth, to make the few powerful and the many powerless. So we don't have democratic accountability because the gap between the many and the few is too huge. So to start with, the basic for a society to be democratic is not anarchy. No, we need a state. It's not about libertarian principles that just get rid of the state doesn't interfere. No, they want the state to protect them, to protect their wealth and private property. But they don't want the state to redistribute the wealth and control the basic thing, which is money. Where is the money to be invested? Why should we believe that the few, the oligarchs and the plutocrats, are the ones that know where the money should go, what to finance, where to invest the money? Why should they do any other thing but to invest only in what they believe is going to be good for them? Not for the state, not for the people, not the collective good, not for the humanity, not for anything, but for them. For them, because they want to perpetuate their power, they want to control more wealth, to have more control over everything, if possible the whole world. So this is, in my opinion, is the basic principle that is that we need to understand where to start the discussion. Because honestly, if we do not start by understanding the class society, the class, we cannot understand. It is impossible. Because then we will always try to find excuses to justify the existence of class division and privileges and everything else, based on meritocracy and moral this and supremacy, some superiority, some of this, some of that. We always find excuses to justify the unjustifiable. We are all equal. So we are not better than others, because if we have skills that others don't have, they have skills that we don't have. Even the ones that we believe they are stupid, of course, that is true. I'm not going to say that they are not stupid people. Unfortunately, that is the reality. But even the people that they are stupid. They might not be as smart, but the culture and the education they get that wants to instrumentalize them, they are not taught to overcome. They are taught to become instruments of the powerful. So the all culture and education is not to free people. It's nothing about markets do not free people, okay? Markets are good for opportunists. Markets are good for people without scruples, unscrupulous people. Markets are good for psychopaths and sociopaths and narcissistic people and megalomaniac people. And the markets I'm talking about financial markets. That doesn't mean that there are not people at the heads of corporations and the industrial capitalism. But there are some people that have been honest and becoming rich, being honest people, work hard, working honest people, okay? But the ones that talk about free markets or the free marketeers, the ones that want open borders, I do not defend. That's why this is always a very difficult. I do not defend the nationalism as many right-wingers see it. I want the countries and the states to be respect the sovereignty of the states. I don't want chauvinistic. I don't want people to be patriotic in the sense they believe their nations or countries or cultures are superior than others. That's not good. That's not. There is no such thing as free markets. Markets are rigged, and the problem of class is exactly because class is exactly about rigging a system that you need to invent laws and principles and moral narratives in order to justify that. You know, you need to create a web of lies in order to justify. Just think about the Dolita. Just think about which is the untouchable. I mean, it is incredible how people can believe that that social condition is because they had a bad karma, so they are paying. You know, it is a punishment because we need to have gods that want to punish. And I mean, this is incredible. That we can sacrifice people just because we, you know, and there are so many scientists. That's why experts. They were justifying the black people and the brown people. They have a different, they were measuring their heads, their scalps in order to find out they are why they are not humans, kind of, but they are humans. That's why expertise in scientific knowledge is important. But science, everybody that really loves science knows that science is not about delivering absolute truths. It's not about technoscientism. It's not about blind faith in experts, nor authorities, nor saviors. Science is about systemic doubt. It's about it's about questioning. It is really. So when somebody tells you that you need to listen to experts, I do not say that we don't need to listen to them. But it's not about that. We are not supposed to take them as gods, as people that are delivering the absolute truth, that nothing else, that you cannot doubt it. And then if you are someone without that you don't have a degree, you are just an ordinary citizenry. Why shouldn't you, if you find it it doesn't make sense, what these experts are defending, their argument doesn't make sense, why should you just have to I mean, everything should be debatable, in the sense, and the only thing that is not debatable is the dignity of life. Okay, the dignity of life is not debatable. Either we respect it or not. Either we want to see all life with respect or not. It's not about that's not debatable, in my opinion. The existence of God is debatable. Everything, but the dignity of life is not debatable. So, and again, just because a system like the capitalist system and this imperialistic civilization seems to work, everything seems to work. It works because it requires repression to work. You know, we are free to not work. We are free, but we cannot, and as everybody knows, there is nothing democratic about the relations between employees and employers. So this is not really I mean, we can, okay, we are free to there is nothing that does not allow us to create cooperatives. No, but again, the culture itself, we have such a, the culture is so individualistic. We are the educational, it's to make us so individualistic, competing with each other for the better grades, for the ability to go to the best universities, to have the possibility of a career, a successful career, and all the rest. So we are so we invest so much in our individuality, individualization, that of course we do not, we think that why should we want to cooperate if we can have it all? I mean, if we believe, if every single one of us believe that we always bring more to the table than what we get in return. Of course, we don't want to cooperate with anybody. We don't want. Why should we want a cooperative? Why should we, if we already believe that we are going to be, we are not going to get back what we are going to invest, kind of mentality. So that's why corporations or cooperation. That's why cooperatives are not mainstream. They are not mainstream because neither. It's the same thing about the universal basic services and social housing, public housing, and public banking and everything else. People believe that those things don't exist because they don't work, and that's that's not true. That's just a myth. They don't exist because everything is done in order to make them to put them at the margins, to make people not even think about them to start with. That's exactly an important point. You know, that's not because they do not work. It's the same thing about the. We should have Uber-like services, but public, but owned by the state for the good of for the collective good. Or by cooperatives. You know, that is a good. The system itself, it is an interesting technology. It should not for private. Why should they don't even want to pay? You know, they don't want to pay taxes. This is a and they exploit people. You know, because that's why the economics of sufficiency is it needs to be. I mean, you cannot. First you cannot fight for what you do not understand or what you do not know. And in order to understand why the economics of sufficiency, what we need to understand to start with, is why the economics of sufficiency, it's a much better system than the economics, for the majority of us. And I believe most of us belong to that majority. Okay? Because it's again delusional that and that's unfortunately also that too many people, as Steinbeck said, too many poor people are they're just embarrassed millionaires, you know, or these days maybe embarrassed billionaires. So, and that's crazy. So we need to understand why is it good for us, in order that, of course, we take the time and the energy to fight for something. We need to believe in it, but besides believing in something, we need to understand that system, it is an imperative to get rid of one system and replace it by another. So it is not just a question of understanding it intellectually, but understanding the imperative, the existential imperative uh, that is otherwise we just live in that twilight zone that we do not move, and that's I think that's where humanity lives right now. It's a kind of twilight zone that we are not able to move, because we fear the unknown, but we are walking, we are witnessing the tech oligarchs trying to move and control society to pave the way into the unknown. But that unknown, they want to make sure they control it. You know, it's unknown for us, but for them, it's important that they control it. So we are already walking towards the unknown. Because the civilization, the imperialistic civilization, is mutating into something that, in my opinion, is still imperialistic, but is a reality that we should not want. We should not want a reality that probably will lose any possibility of self-autonomy, because we will live in a grid or matrix, a digital grid, that our physical lives will be totally dependent on being connected to that grid. Physically, mentally, we need to be wired, or even microchipped, neural linked to the grid, for everything we need. I mean, who knows what it will be, that we are not yet. I mean, we are not yet fulfilling we need to build a civilization where the true meaning of being human, living as a human being, a really free human being, in a society that is that has the parameters to make us have meaningful lives, an economy and a society that really has what is needed for human beings to have a meaningful life, you know. But instead of investing in that, we are supposed to achieve that meaning through transhumanism. So the meaning is not because we should be more human, but we have to find meaning by becoming transhuman. I mean, I do not accept it. I mean, I feel it needs to be discussed openly. We just cannot trust the tech oligarchy, in my opinion. They are not trustworthy. They are not, and so many experts. So there are so many people writing about
the kind of new brave world, Okay, I'm arriving. I will continue this discussion. So, thank you very much for listening. See you soon.